Welcome, welcome to our study group, Modern Miracles study group. We are joining today on the topic, There Must Be a Better Way. I am Reverend Lisa Windsor, the founder of Modern Miracles, and I'm so happy we're all together. Just look at us here. And if you happen to watch the recording, I am just welcoming you in spirit and just be present now with us. You're so welcomed and a part of this. Well, I often get really excited about our calls. I put on my pink sweater today. I was wearing most of my community. They asked me not to wear any more gray. I have to up level my outfits because I'm trying to come a little more colorful. But I put on my pink sweater because tonight we're going to have fun. Like this is a joyful topic that we're talking about. If you were with me a couple of weeks ago for our study group, we talked about exposing the ego. We talked about the thought system of fear and guilt, the chaos in our mind, the challenges we face with such a noisy, cluttered mind. And we're shifting gears today because one of the things that I shared on that call was that A Course in Miracles brings us a tremendous gift. It teaches us that there are two thought systems in our minds. We grow up here, we don't know about that. We don't think about that. We just think our thoughts are our thoughts, and that's what we identify with. But it comes along and says, actually, there are two thought systems in your mind. One is based on fear and guilt and the belief in separation from love. And it says that one, which it calls the ego thought system, is actually the one that we are conditioned with in this world. It's the mainstream. It's the one that we are taught over and over by the adults of our lives, by the mentors, the teachers. And if not for A Course in Miracles and other pathways of truth that come in to answer our deepest prayer for healing, we wouldn't know about the Holy Spirit. We wouldn't know about the thought system of love. We wouldn't know about the other way. It's covered over in this world. It's hidden. So it's easy actually to come on a call and talk about the ego. I think we did a 1-minute exercise watching our minds, and it was incredible, the response of what was happening in your mind while you watched your thoughts for 1 minute. There was noise, there was doubt thoughts, there was negativity, there was criticism, there was boredom, there was anger, there was utter chaos. 1 minute. And as a collective, we shared what was happening in the mind. It's not hard to find the ego when we take a look, when we step back and we want to look at the mind, it's right there. It can't really actually hide itself, although it tries. But the Holy Spirit, which is the representative, we could say, of the loving thought system in the mind, is very, very different. Very, very different. So before I get into that, I wanted to share what seems like a miracle moment or a significant moment for a lot of students of A Course in Miracles. And I'm actually going to start by sharing this significant moment for the first two students of A Course in Miracles, the scribes of the course. Okay, so if you ever want to reread this, it's actually in the very front of the Foundation for Inner Peace copy of the course in the preface. So it talks about, it's under the heading, How It Came. So I just want to share a couple paragraphs of what it says about how the course came. So it says, A Course in Miracles began with the sudden decision of two people to join in a common goal. I'm going to read that again because that's really important. A Course in Miracles began with the sudden decision of two people to join in a common goal. Their names were Helen Schuckman and William Thetford, professors of medical psychology at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. So a very prestigious university. It does not matter who they were, except that the story shows that with God, all things are possible. They were anything but spiritual. Their relationship with each other was difficult and often strained, and they were concerned with personal and professional acceptance and status. In general, they had considerable investment in the values of the world. Their lives were hardly in accord with anything that the course advocates. Helen, the one who received the material, describes herself. She says, psychologist, educator, conservative in theory, and atheistic in belief, I was working in a prestigious and highly academic setting. And then something happened that triggered a chain of events I could never have predicted. The head of my department unexpectedly announced that he was tired of the angry and aggressive feelings our attitudes reflected, and concluded that there must be another way. As if on cue, I agreed to help him find it. Apparently, this course is the other way. Okay, so this is significant because I like it to call it, there must be another way, or sometimes people say there must be a better way, moment. There must be another way, there must be a better way, moment. Here are two psychologists in a prestigious university, and they were, William Thetford was actually in charge of all the psychologists. He was kind of overseeing them. And he noticed that the psychologists could not get along with each other. Like there was so much discord. And if these are the psychologists of the world who are here to be of service and helping, he said there's something amiss with what's happening here, right? That's where that was a fall to his knees moment. And it's so beautiful that in that moment, Helen, as if on cue, said, and I'm going to help you find it. It's like there's the divine assignment there, the joining in sincere shared purpose. And thus the course came through. So a few weeks ago, I wrote a blog, There Must Be a Better Way, and you may have read it. And in a way, it was my there must be another way moment. And so I'm going to share the story briefly. So basically, I came into the world really following all the rules. And as I got older, I really believed that I knew the formula for success, like according to the world. And, I was a pretty high achiever at things. So I was going to get the job done. And so I systematically started to go through the checklist I had in mind in terms of my happiness. And so I finished university. I got a job with the government. I was always told that's the good job to get. I got married. I started having babies. I bought a house. I then changed jobs because that one wasn't very satisfying. So I became a life coach. And I was checking off all of the goals along the way. I started to notice that when I reached a goal, I especially remember walking out of university and having this degree that the world said, you got to get your degree. And I remember thinking to myself, no, this isn't quite it. I have to keep going. This isn't quite what I thought it would feel like, or I haven't reached where I'm heading. So the kind of led up to this last step. So here I am, I'm a new life coach. I'm joined with one of my best friends. We are building a yoga studio and coaching studio in Vancouver. And we get the studio complete. It's beautiful. It was probably open for about 4 days. We had put months and months of time and energy and money into this. And I was walking around the studio by myself, just having a moment. And this feeling of kind of devastation washed over me. I mean, dread just came over me. And I had this awareness that, oh God, I've done it again. I've done it again. And what I realized in that moment was that I had gone about setting another goal that I believed would fulfill me. I really believed that this was it. Like, I'd gotten the kids, the husband, the house, like it's the job's not quite right. Along with that came an understanding that it would never answer or fill the gaping hole I felt within myself. I just knew it. I don't know how to explain it other than that. It's like 4 days in, whatever this journey would take, wherever this was meant to take me, it would not fill the hole. I would just have to go, well, not quite it. Okay, I got to keep going. Like, it would have just kept me propelled forward. Like, okay, what do I need to add? What do I have to do more? And it was so profound that I dropped to my knees, literally, and I had there has to be another way. There has to be another way. Like, I was done with the pathways of the world. I was just done. I was just like, I can't keep running after this. This isn't working. It was flawed. It wasn't telling the truth. The world wasn't telling the truth about where my happiness, where my fulfillment, where my peace lied. So at that time, A Course in Miracles, it had sort of come, I had it for a little while, and it had come back in. And in that moment, I had a vision, and it was like showing me that all of the pathways of the world lead to a dead end. It just said that every pathway of the world leads to death. That's like a line in the Course, but it's like, it's just showing me it's like a dead end. It's like a dead end. And then that kind of faded away. And then I had another vision, and it was like, there was this one pathway left, and it was a pathway of A Course in Miracles. And I could see that it was an inner pathway. It wasn't an external pathway. It was different. And it was so transforming that I actually left the studio. Like, I went to my business partner the next day. I handed her my half of the business. We're still friends today. I mean, I wished her well. I love her to pieces, but I couldn't chase after it there. I couldn't stay in there. I had to go in the direction of the Course. Now, I didn't know at that time that my calling was to teach the Course, and my calling was to, like, just really, that I would be so passionate about the Course for my life. But that was there has to be another way. When we have sincere moments of asking, an answer will come. And it will lead us to our internal teacher. In the last line of how it came, it says, the Course's only purpose is to provide a way in which some people will be able to find their own internal teacher. I'll say it one more time. The Course's only purpose is to provide a way in which some people will be able to find their own internal teacher. Well, our own internal teacher is the Holy Spirit. We're circling back around, as we're talking about today. There has to be another way. The other way is A Course in Miracles. It's not for everyone. See, it says for some people, so we don't have to worry about that. It's going to resonate or it's not going to resonate. And there's never pushing, pulling, forcing. There are 1,000 paths to God. This is one of them. This is one of them. And if it lands for us, we become so grateful and blessed to have found it. So when the Course teaches that there are two thought systems in the mind, it leads us towards the Holy Spirit. And he is our teacher. He is our inner teacher. Now, I'm not going to talk about it too much today, but we actually have two inner teachers in A Course in Miracles. One is Jesus, and the other one is the Holy Spirit. They are one and the same, ultimately. But to begin, and this is where I began, I didn't actually speak to Jesus for over 3 years. I didn't know who he was to me. That's a whole other story. Jesus wasn't a resonant symbol. I didn't grow up with religion. I didn't know how to relate to him. So for me to start with the Holy Spirit felt safe, felt relatable. Some people love Jesus. They're in love with Jesus. And like, yes, if you go straight to Jesus, it doesn't matter. They're, again, one and the same. But tonight, I'm going to mostly focus on the Holy Spirit as our inner teacher. Okay. But Jesus is right here guiding our way. These are symbols, of course, and they're very, very loving symbols. So we relate to ourselves as people. And in order for us to relate to the Holy Spirit, in a way, we have to define him. We have to come into relationship with him. So how we know how to relate or to have relationship with another is through communication. We have to kind of have faith here because the Holy Spirit doesn't have a body that we can see, but he does have a mind that communicates with us internally. So my opening line with the Holy Spirit, not having religious background, never talking to the Holy Spirit in my life, was, are you there? Holy Spirit, are you there? Are you there? And if you are there, you're going to have to teach me that you're there because I don't know you. I don't know this. Okay, so you see the sincerity of that, right? Course in Miracles comes. It says there are two thought systems in the mind. It shows me that it's describing the ego. And this is like my awareness of like, oh, I know that. That's the madness in my mind. And it starts to bring in, but there's another option. But I don't just say, oh, okay, there's another option and I believe in it and I have faith in it. I don't know that. A Course in Miracles is a path of experience. It's not a path of theory. You can read about the Holy Spirit and these internal teachers and talk about them, but that's not the point at all. Actually, that's not the Course at all. The point is to make a connection, to have an experience that the Holy Spirit lives in you, that the Holy Spirit is truly a teacher that can guide your way, that the Holy Spirit is the teacher of love, the voice for love within. So we're gonna do a little exercise in a little bit because we have to connect with the Holy Spirit. And if you come along this path and like even the Holy Spirit would say, like, just if Holy Spirit is difficult, just say Spirit, join with me. And if that's difficult, say guardian angel. And if that's difficult, say love, join with me. It doesn't matter. It's like he doesn't want a lot of hiccups with the languaging at this point. It's not important. Be open that there is a loving guide within you. And A Course in Miracles literally sets out to get you deeply in touch with that guide. In fact, it supports us in such a structured way through the workbook of A Course in Miracles. And then it says at the end, this is actually a beginning, not an ending, and your teacher goes with you now. So it sort of sets us up to realize that the workbook's purpose is to get us in touch with the voice of the Holy Spirit. The workbook's purpose is to get us in touch with this internal guide. Okay, so we can call the Holy Spirit's thought system right-mindedness. Can call it alignment with God, the thoughts of God. Those are all workable. And I'm just going to describe the essence of the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit, I like to think of the Holy Spirit. First of all, where does the Holy Spirit abide? Like, where is he? He's definitely not external. He's definitely not outside of us. The Holy Spirit is actually in our right mind. He's in our mind. We can find him there. So sometimes if you're ever wondering, is the Holy Spirit with me? You can do a simple exercise to close your eyes and just locate a beam of light within your mind. It can be a little spark of light. It can be a bonfire of light. It can be the sun, but there is a light in your mind that cannot be snuffed out. You can go looking in your mind and tell yourself there's no light in my mind, and I guarantee you there is a light there. And if you want to see it and find it, you will. And that is, on some level, proof, it will always be there, that the Holy Spirit is in your mind. He's with you. He is the light in our mind. And the ego cannot, if we choose to see the light in our mind, what is true and real and eternal, the ego cannot cover it over. It cannot cover it over. So the Holy Spirit holds the divine plan. The ego holds our personal agenda, and the Holy Spirit holds the divine plan. So if you're asking the ego for guidance through your day and you're relying on the ego to guide your way, which is us just kind of being self-reliant, that's sort of a similar thing, thinking that we know the way, we will be pulling upon our past experience and what we kind of see and sense in front of us, and sort of what the senses feel, what we know from the past, and what we can kind of determine from what we can see. And you can imagine the limitation on our sight with that. I mean, all we have is the limitations of what we brought with us from our past learning and what we can see in front of us. That's limited information to make a life decision. So when we ask the Holy Spirit for guidance, the Holy Spirit abides, we could say, in the higher mind. I love to think of him like in the higher mind and the ego in the lower mind. So the Holy Spirit's in the higher mind, and he has this incredible perspective. He sees past, present, and future. He sees everyone in the divine plan, all 8 billion. He sees everything all at once, and he knows what the guidance is for the highest good of all. So when we're being guided by the Holy Spirit, we are literally working on behalf and serving the divine plan, what is in the highest interest of the whole. A Course in Miracles teaches a path of oneness, that we are all one in truth. So that makes sense that the Holy Spirit would be guiding us on behalf of the whole, because we're in truth all one, we're all connected. So when we learn to be in relationship with the Holy Spirit, we learn to trust that everything is happening for all. It's a very different experience than being guided by the ego, who is very caring of our own personal agenda and maybe a few small people in our group, right? That we group off and say, I care about my family and maybe this community and myself. And it's sort of us against the world. But with the Holy Spirit, it is on behalf of the whole, which is way beyond what our minds can even fathom. But that's the truth of it. I mean, who do you want to ask for guidance when you're navigating a decision? We're actually choosing which teacher in each moment. Oh, it's such a transformational, shifting experience when we start to rely on the Holy Spirit to guide our way. Here's the other thing. The Holy Spirit is completely non-judgmental and completely, infinitely patient. So I want you to imagine that the Holy Spirit is like the GPS of your car, right? So the GPS of your car says, turn right, turn right. And when you turn left, it just simply reroutes you. It doesn't judge you. Your GPS doesn't judge you. It doesn't say, oh my gosh, you made a mistake, you're so dumb. It doesn't say you didn't listen. It just starts to reroute you. That's sort of what the Holy Spirit does. He never forces, never pushes, never interferes. But he will guide us and continue as we're open and willing to realign us with our highest path. Gently rerouting us back into alignment. He's infinitely patient. He does not run out of patience with us. He's always just there waiting with infinite patience for us to turn back towards him and ask him again. The Holy Spirit is our best friend, like a friend with a capital F. It's not a friendship of this world because there's no judgment involved. There's just absolute love, absolute patience. The Holy Spirit continuously reminds us of our innocence, reminds us how loved we are, reminds us that we are taken care of, that we are included. He's gently waking us up to the remembrance of who we are as God created us, holy, loved, peaceful, joyful, united. Okay, so I think what we're going to do next. Oh, here's an important one. The Holy Spirit is very funny. Okay, so when we walk this path, humor even gets transformed. So there's the humor of the ego, which is often sarcastic and unkind and hurtful, funny at someone else's expense or our own. But humor also gets transformed by the Holy Spirit and is often used. The Holy Spirit says, oh, lighten up, lighten up. Don't take it all so seriously. Have some fun, right? Put on your pink sweater, right? That's the reminder. Put on your pink sweater, have some fun. So this is the best news in the whole world. I just need to let you know. You have a loving teacher, a best friend, a light within your mind that is pure love, that is wholly attentive to you, that will always be there when you turn towards it, that never interferes if you're not interested. Never interferes if you're not interested. This is the teacher, the voice that God has provided us to wake us to the remembrance of who we are. We're so blessed. Here's something really important. The Holy Spirit does not interfere. He does not enter fear. The Holy Spirit always waits upon our invitation before he enters in and guides our way. So this is really important. If you can imagine the Holy Spirit knocking on the door of your mind, coming into your mind when he's uninvited, interfering in your process, he would actually cause fear in the mind. It would actually scare us to have that happen. Doesn't work like that. Love does not increase fear. Love is kind. Love is patient. And so A Course in Miracles, the gift that it is, it's teaching us to quiet the ego. It's teaching us to remember God, to remember the Spirit within, remember his teachers. And it's teaching us to ask for help, to ask the Holy Spirit for help. There has to be a better way. There must be a better way. But this really requires your participation. We do not wake up without full participation and full freedom and choice to do so. The Holy Spirit does not interfere. It does not come into the ego and start dismantling it. The Holy Spirit waits for us to say, Holy Spirit, I choose you to guide my way. Holy Spirit, I ask for your help in resolving this issue. Holy Spirit, help. You know, that's our favorite, simplest request to the Holy Spirit. Help! I'm spinning. I'm stuck. And then we learn to trust that love comes in a way that we can understand. It reaches us in a way that we can understand. Sometimes people say, I can't hear the Holy Spirit. I can't hear Jesus. And I say, read the words in A Course in Miracles. They've written them down for you. That's how it begins. That's as clear as it begins. They said, you won't trust my voice without evidence that I'm here. So if you can't hear the Holy Spirit, then start by reading the words written down in A Course in Miracles. They're the Holy Spirit's words. He's written them down for you. You can go to them. You can be with them. You can let them wash over your mind. Right? He's like giving us something we can hold, something we can read, something we can do. until we've developed a deep enough capacity to trust him and to listen and to follow. We also don't know that the Holy Spirit works in us until we actually learn to follow the guidance we receive. So we can call upon the Holy Spirit and he can bring his language and his guidance. But if we don't follow the guidance, then it becomes impossible to build a solid foundation of trust with him, because we don't really know if he leads us to miracles. We don't have the experience of that. So one of my deepest dedications is I'm so dedicated to following guidance. I'm so committed to following the guidance. Sometimes I don't understand why I'm guided to do a certain thing or say a certain thing, but I'm so committed to following. And in that way, I've experienced so many miracles and developed so much trust. But he waits with infinite patience. He'll continue to guide us and we might not follow, but eventually we'll say, there has to be a better way. There has to be another way. And then we might try. We might say, okay, I'm gonna follow my intuition. That's what it is. So the Holy Spirit is the voice of your intuition. He speaks to us. I like to say, basically, A Course in Miracles is about learning the language of love. We undo the language of fear in the mind and we learn the language of love. And it does not speak to us like the ways of the world. We have to start to trust our intuition. We have to. The Holy Spirit speaks to us through signs and symbols, right? Most of us are familiar with spiritual signs and symbols. They come intuitively and they show up. The numbers show up, or the sign on the signpost shows up, or the song comes on that we were thinking of, or the person that we were thinking of we bump into. So the synchronicities show up. Those are all signs and symbols of spirit. Signs and symbols and feelings. So starting to trust our feelings, that's kind of important. Like sometimes he speaks to us through a certain feeling of openness or a feeling of go this way, feeling of closed downness, like no, like turn away from that. And we're just like learning to tap into that intuition. Often the feeling comes with an intuitive thought, a direction. So we've got that. And then just all of our intuitive channels. So people have inner vision, or hearing, inner knowing. I often say the Holy Spirit said, but I really want you to understand that I'm not hearing the Holy Spirit as a like separate voice in the mind, really. It's just really it's like the voice, it's like an inner voice within. It's not audible in that way. It sort of just comes through and it has an essence to it. And the essence is it's non-judgmental, it's kind, it's direct, it's of a different quality than the ego. And as we work and study A Course in Miracles, we discern more deeply as we go along the Holy Spirit versus the ego's attempts to distract us. So that's kind of the journey with the thought system of love within our minds. I mean, I feel like it's so accessible to us because we start by building a relationship with our inner guide. I started with, hey, are you there? Are you there, Holy Spirit? If you are, can you show me? Can you teach me? And he showed up. He showed up in a very big way. And he's never left. He's still showing up every day, any moment, all the time. And so I think it's really important to step out of the spiritual constraints around your communication with the Spirit and be sincere. I never worried about the words I used. I just talked to him sincerely, like I would talk to a friend I was learning to be friends with. I built a relationship out of sincere inner communication. I would write to the Holy Spirit in my journal at times and just sit quietly and wait for response to come through. And if I spoke to the Holy Spirit in my mind, I spoke to the Holy Spirit like he was a loving teacher, a loving friend in my mind. I just used my terminology, my language. And that really worked for me in terms of building trust. So you don't have to worry about getting the words wrong. Okay. So what I want to do is just take you through a little process. And we're going to say hello to the Holy Spirit in our mind. We're going to invite the Holy Spirit in. And then if we have a couple minutes, maybe we'll let a few people share what they experienced. Okay. Yeah, so just come along with me. Let's play with this for a minute. Okay. Okay, so when you're ready, let's rest our eyes closed. And just take a nice deep breath again. Just relax. We're just going to empty our minds of any expectations. We're okay with nothing happening at all. Nothing has to happen. Just relax. Just let go. You don't have to do any work here. You just have to show up and relax. Know that you're safe. Know that you are so appreciated. And we're just bringing our little willingness to this moment. So we are relaxing. And when you feel ready, I want you to invite the Holy Spirit into your awareness. And you may see him as a spark of light. So you will at some point see some light in the mind, because we talked about that tonight. So I think that will be a good symbol. That's definitely a symbol of the Spirit. But you can also be wildly open to whatever shows up. So just open up your heart and mind and say to the Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, I invite you into my awareness. I welcome you in. Stay relaxed. And we can just say to the Holy Spirit, I'm open to whatever message you have for me right now, whatever you would like to teach me. And then just be still. Just take a few more seconds and thank the Holy Spirit. You can gently open your eyes when you feel ready, bringing his gifts with you. I want you to say thank you to the Holy Spirit for what you did receive if you felt like you made a connection. I want you to accept the way that love showed up for you in that way. And we're taking the limitations off of of the ways in which love gets to show up for us. We're taking the limitations off and we're becoming so expansive of allowing love into our lives. So expansive. I hope you can just feel the love and how loved you are in this space and how grateful we are and how blessed we are to have your presence here. So yes, the Holy Spirit is with you. Call upon him, start building that relationship. And I don't know, I just want to say thank you. It was just a blessing to be with you.